Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10 for October 14th. I'm T Weave with me as always, and I'm going to go Allison Faye first this time.
Woo.
Allison Faye with me and Andrew, just as always. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Going to
How
be
are you?
distracted the whole time with the
No,
Yankees game
I,
just starting?
Not only is that alphabetical, it's order of appearance because I don't need to be 30 minutes early.
you know what? You know what? I mean, you're not wrong.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So how's everyone?
Doing okay. Pretty tired, but I may fall asleep during the football show, but we'll see what happens.
Terry,
So
that's a
tell us
lie.
why you're tired.
Well, another soccer weekend in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. This weekend stayed at the not so quality inn, and a number of
Time
things
out.
were problems.
Time out. Time out. You're a grown ass man. Did you really just say that you stayed at the Quality Inn on this show?
Yeah, I did.
My God. I know times are tough, Terry, but fuck,
Well, listen,
have
I'm
some
dumping.
standards.
I'm paying for coaching. I'm paying for tournaments. I'm paying for all that. So it's like, where's the hotel money come from? I don't know. So I'm scraping by with that.
And to your point, that's one of my favorite sayings. I've listened to us back. I apparently say to your point a lot. But to verify what you're saying, when the hell did a good hotel room get so stupid expensive?
I don't know.
I mean, like ridiculous
Right?
expensive. What's gonna be $200? Motherfucker, we're dropping our bags and sleeping here. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be here 7 hours. All right.
It's
And that-
funny because right
That
after
counts
Cyrus,
bathing.
right after Cyrus told me as we walked back into the hotel after he played 2 games, he goes, "My legs are really hurting." And then we saw the out of order sign on the elevator. Like,
Oh,
sorry,
no.
buddy, you got to climb some stairs, and we were on the top floor.
Oh no.
Oh no. That's why I was telling you, get your steps in. It's always good
That's
for you.
right. Yeah, it was okay for me, but he was
Not for
he
the
was
kid who
struggling
played
already.
so many
Yeah,
games. Yeah.
exactly.
No, particularly if he was leg dead. And that's a serious thing when your legs are genuinely
Oh yeah.
Did
first they feel like jello and then they feel like cement. That's a
Yeah, and
real
he's
thing.
and he's running all over the place the whole time. I mean, he's a midfielder. He just kind of goes everywhere.
I
well,
saw
you know
your
what?
pictures. I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt you, Alice. I
Nope.
saw the
You're
pictures.
going where I was going.
The size difference, both
Oh, yeah.
height and width. He's gotten big. I know he's only 11, but he's
Yeah.
really starting to get bigger.
Yeah, in the last
You
year, it's
You
just
hear him,
crazy.
see him hitting that growth spurt, which only makes it worse because growing pains is a real thing. It's not
It is.
psychological. It's a
And he
real
has
thing.
a couple of times at practice, he's come to the side saying his legs or his knees hurt or whatever, but we're getting through it.
Yep. Did you eat anything good this weekend?
I ate a whole lot of Mexican food. I think probably 2 entrees worth of Mexican food on Saturday afternoon. And
We
then,
approve.
because we ate so much Mexican food on Saturday, we just wanted some dessert. So we asked TripAdvisor or whatever what kind of dessert places are around. So we went to a Korean sweet shop. I said sweet shop, not a Korean sweatshop. Just
I read it as sweatshop in the text message.
but I ate. Let's see. I should really load pictures of
You
this stuff
should.
when I eat it.
This
But
is good stuff.
so I ate. Let's see. I had a creme brulee drink. It's just kind of like a milkshake kind of deal. Had ice in it and stuff like that, and it was very good. But I had the star of the show, you could say, was a fruity pebbles covered Korean corn dog.
Hmm.
And I don't think fruity pebbles and cheese go together. So there was cheese in the middle and meat, and it was a corn dog, and it was fruity pebbles. It was okay, but I'm not going to get another one.
All right. Well, you tried.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would ever have that. I mean, but I love corn dogs, so I would try maybe something else.
Corn dogs are a guilty pleasure of mine, genuinely. I
love
love
corn
a
dogs.
damn corn dog.
Absolutely.
So-
When you got some good cornbread on there, ooh.
Oh yeah.
And they're hot and you pull
Yeah.
apart and fluffy, like the corn breading is fluffy.
Yeah.
No,
Allison and I
absolutely.
could do a whole just put it in your mouth on
And-
bear
yeah.
food and shit
Well,
like that.
technically, I was going
Corn
to say the
dog.
corn dog. literally as I just put it in your mouth.
On a
A
stick.
whole episode of stuff on a stick.
Food
That
on
might be a good list.
Top
for us to
10
do. Top
things on
10.
a stick. There you go. So my responding to the how are you leads into my producer's pissed. So I'm great. My child, on the other hand, is driving me insane. I love
Is
him
he?
to death.
I say, does
okay?
he know this?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the reason that I say this, today was a day off, Indigenous Peoples Day. And he had a lot of free time, but I reminded him that he forgot to call his father yesterday for his birthday.
Oh.
'Cause I
Oh
tried to
no.
leave it for him, but he missed it. So I said, all right, call your dad, and well, that apparently just put him in a cranky mood for the rest of the day. And just snippy and moody and typical teenager stuff.
Yeah, woman, don't
So-
tell me what to do. Yeah.
And it was high frustration all day. So later in the day, we switch houses, and he says to me, he goes, I'm just gonna go sit in my room for a little bit and be calm. And I'm like, all right, have a good time, right? Well, he sends me a text message, and the text message says, the truth is, I've been tired of you yelling at me, and I'm tired of me yelling back at you. And I'm like, well, all right, mister. Is that how you feel? And I'm like, that, no problems with that. And I'm like, I'm tired of it too. Good talk. Oh, shit. Yeah, I know. So anyway.
Too.
You said that so just casually. Later in the day, we switch houses.
Ah,
Was
you
your
asses.
pinky sticking up when you said that?
We
So
have
anyway.
we have a Florida State friend that has a habit of that. So I was expanding my driveway.
Yeah. So yeah, teenagers. When people say they like jinx you and they're like, oh, I hope you have one just like you someday. Guess what I did? I sure as shit did. Mine is a freaking, I would say mini me, but he's way taller than me. But oh god. Yeah.
Handful.
Good times. All right.
I'm undefeated. Have not gotten a Father's Day card lately. Rodon with the strikeout. Bam. Yankees.
Yeah.
Yankees,
So for those
Mike
of
Bober.
you,
I see you. I see you, Bober. I
those of
see
you
you.
listening to us, we are currently, Andrew and I, also watching game 1 of the ALCS. So apologies. So let's
look at
talk
Terry
about,
with
look
the
at
clutch.
Terry.
Look at
Terry
him.
rolls
Segue, 'cause
right
that was what
into
was
that.
next. So we did get the update with the Mets pulling into a tie with the Dodgers here in the NLCS. So 1-1 in the NLCS, and the first game of the ALCS just started.
Yep.
Bober's a hater. Look, he just get in line with everybody else. We don't care.
Doesn't bother us.
We don't care.
Yeah, and you see this one
here's
up here, the Mets versus the Phillies. That is a softer version of Georgia versus Alabama for the national championship for me.
Yikes, Terry.
Wow.
Yikes. As he
Wow.
sips his drink because he knows he got one in.
Woo.
So
Yeah. What are we looking
yes,
at, guys?
we are watching the Cleveland Indians play God's team, the New York Yankees, on National Indigenous Peoples Day. I will never call them the Guardians ever.
No.
And you can all thank Major League for that. It's not actually got anything to do with the baseball team. But yeah, the Yankees are
Cleveland
hosting.
Indigenous people.
It's Cleveland Indigenous Peoples. I think they should try to put that on a jersey.
All
if you watched the game yesterday,
yeah,
LA showed out. And then today, Mets open with the home run, load the bases, grand slam, and it's 6-0 in the second.
Yeah.
And then it ended up 7-4, 7-3, 7-3.
Like
yeah, so
can't beat that.
So you split in LA. Now you got 3 back in New York. So and then they go back.
Do it? Is it
2-3-2?
Sorry,
2-3-2.
we are at the best of 7.
Yep, 2-3-2.
It got here pretty quickly.
Yes,
yeah.
it did.
Yep.
So now
and then,
go to the other side. Yeah.
Cleveland, Detroit got hot to the point where I was wondering if we want to play them much as Yankees fans. In Kansas City, New York beat them without Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge played good defense, but he did not play good offense. So, to all the Cleveland fans and the Yankees haters out there, our man is due, and it's never a good thing when he gets hot because y'all get buried. And if he's going to wait till the division and the World Series to get hot in the playoffs, I'm all right with that.
Absolutely agree. Now here's a fun thing. Here's where Andrew and I actually disagree. I would love to see a Subway Series World Series. See?
I got you, Terry. Fuck the Mets.
It's I'm back to that. See, so the problem with baseball, there's a lot more than just that Georgia Alabama thing for me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Yankees aren't helping. The Yankees are the only reason the Braves didn't have like 4 World Series titles.
Yeah, because the Yankees have 4 World Series titles instead.
They kept beating the Braves.
Oh Lord.
But thankfully the Indians came along in 95. So and the Indians can't beat anybody in the World Series, including the Cubs.
No. That's why I think no matter who wins the NL side, as long as the Yankees win the ALCS, I think it will be an exciting World Series.
And I think the Yankees get it done in 5 or 6. I don't think they go full 7.
Ooh.
But for the sake of baseball, sure, Subway Series, whatever.
No, I want the Dodgers. And here's why. I'm about to get on my soapbox because apparently, as a newly minted Yankees fan, I am starting to catch heat. But this is the thing. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a statistician. I know the team. I can tell you all about them. Stroman's in. Rizzo's in. Back from injuries. Gill's going to start the 3rd game. Garrett Cole is on tomorrow night. So
wait, who?
Garrett, not Jarrett. It better be Garrett.
You do better when you say Garrett or Jarrett.
No, there's a Jarrett Cole. That's the guy that sucks. And then there's Garrett Cole, and that's the guy that won the Cy Young Award.
Okay.
There's 2 Garrett Coles.
Correct.
2 Coles. But yeah, they're going to the Yankees. The reason I want the Dodgers in the World Series with the Yankees, as I've heard this in multiple text group chats, whatever. Well, you're just paying for your championships. Okay, if Aaron Judge came to Cleveland, you'd have to write him a $100 million contract too. It's the player that demands the money. And it's not their fault that by putting on those pinstripes, or New York has a $20 million, the Mets have a $20 million higher total player salary than the Yankees. And then you've got the Dodgers, they're 3 right there.
And they're paying millions of dollars to the Marlins every year.
Yeah. So from the Yankees, Dodgers, and Mets standpoint, by being in those markets, particularly New York, LA, because Chicago, those baseball teams suck, but those big markets, you're demanding more. This is still a capitalist society. You want Aaron Judge off the New York Yankees, you're going to have to pay stupid money, and you're going to have to give him something back to get rid of Aaron Judge. He is now and will always be a Yankee. They're about to lock Juan Soto up to the tune of $500 million. Big contract. The guy is 25 years old, 7 years in the league, already been with the Nationals and the Padres, and has won a World Series. So they want him because he's, 9 years younger than Judge?
Wow.
Or 5 years younger than Judge. I guess Judge is 30. So anyway, bottom line is you can fuss and all that, but what I just
realized I could be his mom. Oh God!
You can be Volpe's mom
or he's
Judge's mom.
Just stop. It's enough.
But the bottom line is I want to see the best player, Shohei Ohtani, versus the best player, Aaron Judge, and all that they bring to the table, the money, the resources, and the coaches. Let's go. Okay. That's what I want to see.
Fair.
And I actually think LA has a coaching advantage over New York.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Aaron Boone is as good a manager as Roberts.
I think that series goes to 7.
Absolutely. New York and LA is going to go to 7. It's going to teeter-totter, back and forth, back and forth. I think the Yankees can, if they can win both at home, they close it in 5 or 6. So
I agree.
Because they have owned the AL Central whether anybody likes it or not, and they have owned the Cleveland Indians
Man, how
for
would
$24 worth of beads.
Cleveland versus the Mets has got to be the most boring option here.
Oh, the Mets
That's
will roll them. The Mets will
yeah,
roll them. They'll
that's a
get those bad.
will not
They'll just
watch.
they'll just go. So I got my stuff in on Cleveland. Everybody now knows because the whole New York's douchebags or fuck the Yankees or whatever. Okay, why? What do you hate about them? The fact that they
They
got
beat my
27
team too many
championships,
times.
got the Hall of Fame. They beat your team
Let's
4
not
times.
get started, or I'm gonna go off on a rant again about how
What else can we
stupid
talk about? We
these
talked about
people
Name
are.
baseball.
calling.
Is
I
it
mean,
time to
name
talk about
calling.
wrestling?
Wrestling. Let's talk about wrestling. How about
Do we have
wrestling?
to?
Yeah.
We don't have
Well,
to. We can
well,
go
no.
ahead.
AEW is always in the wrestling. That's why I always ask you every week. Do we have to? WWE this week. I did not watch Raw last week. Full disclosure. Apparently, Cody Rhodes is on, but the Yankees are playing, so I don't. Sorry,
Yeah.
Cody. I'll catch you on Instagram or Twitter.
Too
Maybe the
many other
replay.
options going on to watch wrestling at this point.
Correct. And they know it. Like they know it. Like Raw knows that they're in a bad spot because they always lose viewers on Monday Night Football. They always lose during the playoffs. They know those things. But
Pay-per-views. I mean, there's so much football this weekend.
yeah. Oh yeah, like I was gonna buy Wrestle Dream when you had the Ducks and Ohio State playing in prime time. Get away from me.
Yeah.
But anyway, main stories on SmackDown, of course, is your tribal chief, the original Roman Reigns, joined by Jimmy Uso, gets beat down by the 4, left laying. And then this segment, we need help, we need help, we need help. So obviously they're building to War Games. They're going to get there, maybe by way of Crown Jewel. And now Kevin Owens has jumped Randy Orton, and they use the same backstage camera stuff.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't know if we covered this last time. Did we discuss the Crown Jewel champions?
I don't know that we did. I put
Titles?
Crown Jewel in the notes basically
Yeah.
because, like, you're never going to convince me, even at how many ever millions of dollars. I think it's a stupid number.
It's a stupid amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 50? It's 50 million a show,
It
I
might
think.
be 50. Yeah.
I think it's 50. You're never going to convince me it's a good idea. You're never going to convince me based on the human rights, the politics, the geopolitical nature right now of the Middle East. And we don't speak politics on the show, but the Middle East is on fire between Lebanon, Israel, Iran. Now you bring Saudi into. I'm not asking American citizens to go over there and perform. You have people like Sami Zayn, who is a Syrian Muslim, performing in front of an audience that while they may have that religious bond in common, geopolitically they are enemies. So again, there's a lot there. Their human rights, the way they treat women, the way they treat minorities, the way they treat disabled people, the fact they had somebody assassinated on American soil. All good reasons to not do business with the House of Saud in my world. But
It's also a pay-per-view that doesn't fit into the plot. It's
no,
just random.
it's a big ass house show that pays a ton of money. Because you can get away with it, like you say, Terry. What story are we telling with these crown jewel titles other than you're going to get to see Nia versus Liv, and you're going to get to see Cody versus Gunther, but you're giving that to Saudi Arabia?
Right.
You're giving Cody and Gunther to Saudi Arabia? I don't know. So, but yeah, those championships, Allison.
Yes.
Gaudy is one way to describe them. That intricate, ornate. I don't know.
I just don't. All I see it as is a merch ploy. Like, here's another belt you could buy.
Well, and I guess they have to do something because we all know, like, when you have a world title defense in Saudi Arabia, they're not going to change the title. Logan Paul was not going to beat Cody Rhodes in Saudi Arabia.
No,
but if they put Logan Paul and Cody in this match for the Saudi Arabia crown jewel title, then maybe Logan Paul can win the title. As an example, I know he's not in the match, but I don't have Gunther gone. I would be surprised. I would not And the reason Mike Bober is TKO.
Mm.
TKO, UFC, MMA carried on during COVID in Abu Dhabi. So they have a very well-established business relationship with power brokers and players in the Middle East. And I am ignoring y'all on the chat because whatever in the world is going on over there, I'm trying to hold
It's Frank's
fort here.
fault. It's Frank's fault.
So listen. So my deal with the belts, and
Yeah.
y'all might have been talking about something else, but Frank distracted me here. But just the belts to me, I'm not a big fan of the belts that are huge on the sides. I'm good with huge on the middle piece, but I like the side to come down a little bit. These are giant belts.
Yeah, they're stupid. Like
They are.
stupid,
They look
stupid
like
size.
that stupid AEW women's belt, which I can't stand it. And this one to me looks just like that, but I'm not. It's just to me, it just looks like something you hang on a wall, not one you actually wear.
That is beautiful, Mike Bober. We love you. And by the way, I think I'm going to call an audible, and we're going to do it on this show right now.
Oh Lord,
we're going to reach out to Bober, and he's going to be one of the guest pickers on the Top 10 show because he maybe hate watching us, but he is here every single week without failure. And we've asked for volunteers in our clique and our RAM group, and we haven't gotten them. So Bober, DM me. We'll
figure it out.
Can't do it November 2nd. That one's spoken for, but Pittsburgh 6-0. We'll talk about it in the second show.
We'll try to not jinx Pittsburgh.
All right, yeah.
So, the Pittsburgh.
So the rest of WWE, I mean,
yeah, they're really just kind of doing their thing. Braun Breaker attacked Jey Uso again at the end of the show last week or whatever, or at some point, and I saw that. I don't know when it happened because we were watching baseball and we were on here. Yeah, I mean they're doing their thing, building to Crown Jewel, building to Survivor Series, and I mean, it's not going to be bad. It's just going to be WWE, well presented, well produced, maybe overproduced. Matches aren't going to be bad, but they're not going to be anything outlandish most of the time. So, the Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes is a little bit weird, but I think you're setting up for a transition to Orton and Rhodes, by way of Kevin Owens,
which is fine.
Yeah, but AEW had a pay-per-view.
They did
with 7,000 people in the Tacoma Dome, where 3 natives of that state were heavily featured, and Bryan Danielson retired allegedly.
No, I read this
full time.
That's the part that gets missing. Yeah.
He's just retired from full time
wrestling. Correct.
So he's
Terry Funk retired 13 times between 1980 and 1997. So don't worry about it. Oh, Pritchard, my horse is sick. That's Cobra. I'm not doing this shit.
But it was it was all right. There were a couple matches which I thought were pretty good. All right, fine. I think I also fell asleep during this, didn't I? Yeah, I did.
Oh,
you may have.
Awesome if you fell asleep.
Yeah, I was watching.
I did. I actually did. My dad would can double check me on this one, but I absolutely fell asleep during it because he was texting me going, "Did you see that?" No, I was asleep.
So I had the iPad on for the watch along, which Elkarai, shout out your show. The guy over there, he hosted it. Good job there. I had the iPad on, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I had far more interest in Ohio State and Oregon than I did this pay-per-view, but I watched enough of it. We can discuss it. I think Danielson Mox was a good enough match. I don't think the issue had a hard enough edge. I think there was a lot of predictability there. And you used a fucking plastic bag again, which you're not going to put on Turner Broadcasting. So, Terry, we know that you were with Cyrus. You didn't see this. So Moxley wins with the choke. Danielson's done. Out comes Darby Allin to stop a beatdown. Here comes Yuta. Yuta hits him with the knee, turns on him. So there's the predictability we were talking about. And then Yuta takes the plastic bag and chokes Danielson out with it while they tape Darby to the corner and make him watch and then beat up all the baby faces that come out. And then the extra baby faces finally run them all off. And in a weird thing, Moxley stuck the title in a black bag and handed it to Pac. It was very strange. I don't know. He didn't carry the world title out of the ring. Plastic bag. Second time. On pay-per-view. For the sickos. But they're not showing it on social. And they're not going to show it on television. Thoughts on that strategy?
Well, if they've done it more than one time, then they probably need to quit doing it. That's about all I got. Not seeing all this, but we do tend to go back to the same thing over and over again.
Well, and they put him on a stretcher and had him wheeled out, and I get that this is the way Danielson wanted to go, looking up at the lights on his back. He's always talked about that in his interviews. Allegedly had numbness in his legs during the Okada match. I say allegedly because I don't know how much you can actually trust Bryan Danielson when it comes to his health and injuries and that sort of thing. And he knows better than we do, but they did the spot, Terry, in the match, and Allison can weigh in on this, where they hit him with the Death Rider DDT. So the jumping DDT like move Jon Moxley started using in Japan. But they did it on the exposed floor. What would the harm in being of restraining Darby and making him watch you hit him 4 or 5 times with the DDT on the floor, which you can show on television, and it'll have the same effect with a guy with a bad neck as choking him out with a plastic bag?
It's not talked about as much, probably. I mean, if it goes beyond the line of showing it on TV, then that's going to play to some of their audience.
Well, I found that a lot of AEW fans are wusses, and that's putting it politely. Part wimp, part pussy, because they get so offended by Ric Flair joined the company to sell Woo energy drinks, whatever. They get so offended by we stuck a plastic bag over his head. It was his idea. But Tony reads all this crap and then does it again. That was my point. Like, what are you? And then you get the whole nother offendedness from the AEW crowd and audience. And I'm like,
so
why?
I'm going to go back to old school marketing. Doesn't matter if what they're saying is good or bad. If they're talking about you, they're talking about you.
Yeah.
So,
but if you can't put it on television and are unwilling to share it on social, which is the driving force that you use for your wrestling audience,
the more interesting.
Yeah,
so
you know why?
So they're going to get 10,000 more pay-per-view.
We can't show it on TV. We can't show it on social media. You better tune in to the next pay-per-view so you see what we do next.
Honestly, it's tale as old as time. It really is.
Pretty clear coming out of this, they're going to put that damn title belt on Darby Allin, though.
At some point.
Really clear. Because they made it a point to tape him to the ropes like handcuffs, Terry, and make him watch them destroy Danielson. So he's the new face of the company. Also, so you're all aware, every title is held by a heel in AEW right now.
Ooh, I love it.
No baby faces.
All 45 of them?
Correct. Correct. No baby faces, sir. Uh-oh. Home run. Juan Soto. Get it out, ladies. The New York getting pregnant tonight. Thank you so much. It's about time.
Okay.
Surprise.
For those of you think I'm actually talking about Juan Soto, that's not true. He just swivels his hips so many times by the time he's done batting, the women in the audience are pregnant. Thank you, Marcelo Hernandez, by way of Saturday Night Live.
Correct.
Final thought on this match. If it's a reset, great. If they're going to do something, great. John Moxley couldn't lose this match though, because everything they had built to is wasted if he did. Just thought.
My only sadness is that they took the belt off of Swerve for this.
Correct.
For Mox to have it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Agreed. And Danielson didn't need the title. He could have retired it all in, and it would have been fine.
I think I understand what it was, though. They were trying. You can't put that much focus on it without.
They're playing the replay.
I know, but they can't do it. You know, they need to focus more on Danielson, and by giving him the belt, you're getting the eyes that don't have the history with him on him. So you're getting
But
like those new fans.
Here's the other problem. This is where I push back and I'll challenge you just a second. At All Out, he gets choked out with the plastic bag. And then at Grand Slam, he gives Nigel a match. And then he gives Okada a match. And he never went after the people trying to kill him. Because we're just trying to get the matches in before we finally say goodbye to him. Doesn't? It's not good. It's not good.
I mean, I get it. He probably always wanted to wrestle Okada in a big stage, you know, like this. He probably always wanted to do that rematch with Nigel, but I'm not saying it's good how they did it. I'm just saying,
let's pick your favorite and make it a storyline.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, again, who are we talking about? This isn't WWE. So.
Well, and they also wrestled Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, and he got him at Forbidden Door. So they've had those matches that were a lot better than the third one. Speaking of trash wrestling, let's continue with this thing. The Young Bucks versus Private Party. Somebody shoot me now.
Nope.
Just shoot me.
Nick.
The match was fine for what it was because it's a Young Bucks match. But the match was fine for what it was because it was a Young Bucks match, and it was probably better than it deserved to be. But Private Party has not won on Dynamite a tag match since January of 24, the beginning of this year, and they haven't won on Dynamite before that since the end of 2022. It's a long time to go without winning any match, and all of a sudden they're the number one tag team against your number one tag team. So I thought that match was more flippy. What was also flippy, as expected, Takeshita, my man, takes the title off of Ospreay.
Yeah.
A little help from Don Callis and a screwdriver and Kyle Fletcher. And of course Ricochet was there too. It wasn't a surprise. We all knew he was turning. What you say, Terry?
Well, I think I got to give him a little bit of credit here. I'm looking at the results, and is it me or did they not have any matches that had more than 4 wrestlers involved?
They did not.
They might have in 0 Hour. No, actually, I don't think they did.
Wow,
that
blowing me away. That's huge. Usually they have one with 12 people all in there at the same time.
Yeah, like a triple trios match thing.
Everybody getting paid.
They didn't have it.
So the Okada match was good, or the Okada match, excuse me. He's not on the show. The Takeshita match was fine. He wins he wins the title. Probably needed to win the title, because you need to get it off of Ospreay. And then but there were plenty of planned spots, plenty of flipping, plenty of acrobatics. Excuse me. And I mean it was what it was. Terry, MJF came back.
I'm gonna put a really quick note out there. I just noticed that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are at the Yankees game.
God, don't wish that on us. Send their asses back to Kansas City.
And surprisingly, they put a camera on them.
I know. Aren't you shocked?
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell my niece. Text her. Right?
But I'm MJF came back, Terry.
Well, that's good. I didn't see it, but that's got good stuff written all over it.
So Jungle Boy, Jack Perry beats I forget the Japanese guy. I just lost his name. Anyway.
I got it right here. Hold on. Let's see. Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata.
Shibata. He beat Shibata
Congrats,
in a
man.
pretty short match,
That
and
was a quick match.
out comes Daniel Garcia. Daniel
Oh,
Garcia
it
is
was just there for this. Then
gonna
yeah.
challenge Jack Perry, and out comes MJF, and MJF low blow, and then
And
out
then
here comes Adam Cole, baby, and he runs MJF off. So we're gonna get Adam Cole and MJF, and apparently Adam Cole is no longer the devil. They cheered him, big pop for Adam Cole, baby.
Mhm.
He was never the good heel in that feud anyway, so it didn't matter.
No.
The women's match was very good.
It was very,
Mariah,
very good.
Mariah and
Mariah and
Willow,
Willow.
very good, very very good.
They're both. I think one of the reasons it was so good is they both can carry a match. So when you put them together, it's fantastic to watch them.
And they know each other. Like they've
Absolutely.
wrestled enough time, they know each other. Mercedes was not on the show, so that was good. Nothing to hate there. What else are we missing? Oh, Jay White comes back. Opener against Hangman. And that was a banger, Terry. Banger. Jay White wins. Here's how he did it. They remembered they're a professional wrestling company. So Hangman goes for his finisher, the buckshot, and Jay White turns it into the Blade Runner, into his finish. And it
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was
beautiful. I actually enjoyed that match the most of all
Same.
of them on the show.
Same.
So,
was that the opener? That was the opener.
yes,
right?
that was the opener. And that was what was so crazy is they set the tone that way.
Yeah.
And then they stuck them in some of them in the dead spot, like Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe. Bleh. I mean, like, there's no reason for that on TV. Get away from me. And I like Mark Briscoe, but Chris Jericho's go away heat all day. Like, it's
crazy, really sad because 25 years ago, I gotta count my fingers here. It's like,
it makes you feel old. Yeah.
Yeah, because
so like the 80s.
To me. Okay, so to me, he was at his best before he switched companies, when he was in WCW and he was really making a name for himself. That's when I liked him the best, and he was great. But
when he did stuff like the List of Jericho,
when he kept messing with the announcer, like the ring announcer, every week, and he apologized, and then he would do something else and apologize.
Took his chair and beat the steel post up with it. Ripped his jacket the one time.
No.
That was great.
Yeah, Dave Penzer.
Yeah,
ripped his. Don't be looking at that all day. Anyway, I mean, Jazz is a professional, but he just looked at a good pitch. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, at least Jericho's not wrestling Hook every time in every review anymore.
Well, and the one thing is, because Tony did this to himself, and I won't tolerate any AEW apologists defending that goofy bastard, is that he put it so that it was all out or all in, all out, not Wrestle Dream, Arthur Ashe, the stadium show, and then this one, and he did it within, they were 9 weeks or something. Dude, that's your fault. Like, that's just bad planning altogether. Yeah. Now they've got some time before Full Gear to let this breathe a little bit. Maybe they can get, well, they don't tell stories over there. Who am I kidding? But maybe we can get some good opponents for the for all the heels that have the title, starting with Moxley, the Bucks, Araya, Okada, Takeshita, and Mercedes Moné.
And the funny thing is,
and Jack
at
Perry.
one point, we kept wondering, why is it taking so long for Wardlow to turn on MJF? That was the one thing that they really stretched out. Everything else is just right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a freak show, and it's stupid, and they got a booker who is brainless, and maybe belongs in our next segment, Terry.
Ooh, nice.
Let me find the right button. Hold on, don't get too dramatic until I figure this out. Do you mean the top 10 horror?
Oh, scary.
Scary. Now I'm gonna state in a loud, clear voice before Terry gets rolling. There were comedies on this list. There was Suspense, like my man behind me, Anthony Hopkins. 16 minutes on screen wins the Academy Award. Silence of the Lambs. But yeah, this will be fun because I am not a horror fan. So I'm about to get educated and roasted, and I promise I fire back. So go ahead, folks. Bring
So
it. I'm not
I
scared.
also was never a horror fan, but in the last like month or two, I started watching them, and I find that I really like some of them. So this should be fun.
And if I haven't said it enough, all these pictures that I have, they come straight from AI. So I come up with some words. Creepy girl at end of hallway, I think was this one. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Sounds like a Friday night. Anyway.
My last Tinder date. Anyway, number 10.
Eat it up, and he got it.
Oh, nope.
Ooh.
Yep.
Pennywise. Yeah. Isn't it
Put those
Pennywise?
in the freezer.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Pennywise. So this is why people hate clowns. Like legitimately. This is why
Absolutely.
between this guy and John Wayne Gacy, this is why people hate clowns. Like, I mean, clowns are evil little things. And
There's also that really horrible movie. I don't know. It was decent. There was that other movie that I can't think of the name of it.
The Devil's Rejects, they had a clown.
No, another. I'm gonna
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I don't think that was it.
But yeah, they remade this one, the red balloon, the creepy yellow. I mean, it's well done. It's of course a Stephen King book adapted to film, which may be a theme in this because there was a lot of Stephen King options on that list. I noticed that Terry left The Stand off of that list, which is actually my favorite Stephen King book. We blame Terry. # Eventually, he'll have merchandise of his own.
So
It'll
the
be
word franchises kind of comes into this.
Yes.
In some places, like The Birds was not on here. You know, that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
What about Lake Placid, Terry? Tell us about Lake Placid.
So Lake Placid was on the list of 170 horror movies that I found on IMDb.com.
It is not a horror movie. That is a comedy. Betty White.
A lot of them are comedies.
This is the point that if I had a dick, I'd tell you to suck it. That is the best line in that movie coming out of Rose Nyland's mouth. I mean, damn.
Rose
Nyland. Oh. Anyway, who's number 9, Terry?
Number 9 is The Exorcist.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised this is so low, but it may show the age of our audience.
Age thing.
I absolutely agree.
I mean, there's some older stuff. I will go ahead and foreshadow. There's some older stuff a little higher, but newer stuff crept up a little bit.
Yeah.
I've watched this one time, and by the way, bases are loaded, 2 outs, Rizzo at bat. So let's go.
They've already gone to the bullpen.
Yeah, twice. So, anyway, The Exorcist was a movie that genuinely terrified people. Like this movie absolutely terrified people. And if I'm not mistaken, Terry, this is a 70s movie.
I think so. It's also a more believable story than a lot of the other ones.
So we're a little more religious. We're a little more scared. We're a little bit different of a society, those sort of things.
You know, unlike Sharknado, which
hey,
I guess could happen.
That is masterpiece. Yankees score. Oh, get him. Yes. That was Judge. He's not done anything for the Yankees. He just stole home. Get off me. Get off me. The Exorcist, though, great movie.
Yes.
But I think it was the 70s, and like you said, it's a little bit more believable, and it messes with people's faith. And when you can pull on a string like that and actually make something tangible, like, I don't know if it's on the list, but I'll just put that out there. I won't never scared of Chucky. All right. I ain't never been scared of Chucky. I don't know if Child's Play was on the list or not. I don't remember.
Oh, it was.
Okay. We'll get there. But what I'm saying is all of a sudden you start talking about demonic possession and stuff. That's a whole nother level of what people are willing to accept. So anyway, number 8, sir. What's number 8?
The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, Clarice. So this is a great book by Thomas Harris.
Staring in
But-
your eyes here.
Yeah, I've got the same picture. See, there he is.
That's
So
funny.
this is where he meets the senator from Tennessee and his daughter, and they're out on the base. He says, "Take this thing back to Baltimore," and he describes Buffalo Bill, Ted Levine, for those of you playing along at home. He was the sergeant or captain or lieutenant in Psych. That was him. That was Buffalo Bill.
That's right.
Great movie. Hopkins is on screen 16 minutes. It's based on the Thomas Harris trilogy. Red Dragon is first, then you have Silence of the Lambs, and then you have Hannibal.
Right.
Hannibal is far more the horror movie in here.
Yes.
These are more suspense. Red Dragon,
Well, this
great,
is technically
psych-
the franchise. So
great
it
psychological
would include
thriller. But this one here set the bar. Anthony Hopkins, as I may have mentioned, 16 minutes on screen, best supporting actor. He's on screen 16 minutes. But if you guys think about all of the scenes in Silence of the Lambs, the most impactful ones, he's in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's in. And then, of course, Hannibal is more about him and Julianne Moore because Jodie wasn't available. But he also a lot more violent. And Red Dragon, of course, is another great movie. But again, all came out of the novel. And that's one thing about a lot of these that are really good is they were books first
Yes.
before they were movies. But people forget Silence of the Lambs was a book
Yeah.
until later. So again, I love this movie. This movie is right behind Tommy Boy for like
Wow.
all-time favorite
Okay.
ever.
But they are so similar.
Yeah, but the psychological aspect of this movie
Yeah.
is what does it. You know, the moss, the buffaloes, the Buffalo Bill, the skin, the gun, the whole thing. Yes,
Andrew,
Allison.
look at the TV, Andrew.
Did we score again?
Yes.
Go Yankees! Well, I'm talking about. Everybody's
we're
gonna.
moving on to
Let's
we're
go,
moving
number
on to number
7.
7 because this
Hey,
guy's staring at me.
I
too
took up
scared.
too much.
I
You
know.
didn't have anything on Silence of the Lambs, Terry?
No, we're good. I want him to quit looking at
He
me.
wants him off his screen. He's
Oh,
scared.
I got you.
I got a big monitor. This is not right. Number 7, Saw.
Oh,
So I started watching these, okay?
Speaking of scary.
So I like these movies because of the mind games, I guess, that go along with it. And like the intricate details. I love a good story. Like love one I can't figure out. So I like these.
the first one was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I did not watch the subsequent ones. Now, here is my problem with horror movies.
6.
3-0 Yankees. It's Saw 10.
Yeah, I know. I think I only got to 6.
Oh, I thought you said I think there are 6. I
Oh,
thought
no.
I thought there's like 10. But
There's
anyway,
10.
my point is with
10.
Saw that it's such, and you see it with the ones we're going to get to. My problem with these horror movies, Halloween movies, whatever you want to call them, is they make them and then they make sequels and they make sequels and they make sequels and
Yeah.
and the sequels stop making sense. Like the sequels don't, Saw they may have done a better job with. Fuck off on Halloween. Fuck off on Friday the 13th. That don't make sense, especially once we get to Freddy versus Jason. That's all I'm saying. Terry, what did you think of Saw?
I didn't see a lot of it, but I mean, it messes with your mind a little bit. It's one of those that is some scary shit, and
Yeah.
you know, a lot of it is pretty believable.
Yeah. Well, they didn't just.
And I
There's
think
not. They didn't just come up with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Mhm.
there's some basis of what they're doing. Anyway,
All right.
Number 6, Child's Play.
Nope. Okay.
Andy Bartlett. Andy Bartlett.
Hated this thing. I hated this movie because it came out, I think, around the same time there was My Buddy.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
So people had
I
the
had
same
that.
size doll. Yeah. A lot of people had it. And then this movie comes out, and I'm like, great, everybody's doll is going to get possessed now. No. Nope.
It's a comedy.
Yes.
It's absolutely a comedy. Particularly the latter ones, like Bride of Chucky and those. they're comedies.
Kind of
This
like
is
Gremlins.
yeah. This is not this is not a horror film to me.
There is that great scene though. It's like friends to the end, remember? And he goes,
Yeah.
"This is the end, friend." That's so great.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I love when he you this the other ones. I even said about the sequel, Andy Bartlett. It is just the way he says it, like he's ready to go raise hell with Andy Bartlett. And of course he's a serial killer that possesses a doll, and does the voodoo thing and all that. But yeah, this was a comedy. This was not a serious movie.
All right.
Number 5, Sharknado. I'm kidding.
No.
Please.
Number
Speaking of
5,
cinema.
Jaws.
I don't even
Oh,
wanna
it
look
looks like the graphics guy kind of.
I don't even want to look at the screen. We're good.
What's wrong with Bruce? That's the name of the shark, Bruce.
Nope.
1974 was it? I think. Anyway, great movie, not a horror movie. Just more like science fiction to me, not a horror movie.
Nope.
Like,
I don't know. It's pretty horrifying to think that
we're gonna need a bigger
this
boat.
guy's out
That's all I'm saying, Terry. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Don't fuck with his ocean on the 4th of July.
I won't look at the screen till you move on.
If these people would have learned, but that's nice. Top 5 Jaws. I guess that works.
But I don't think horror movie. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think horror movie, but I don't really think horror movie when I think Silence of the Lambs either.
Absolutely not. No, I think it's like a crime show.
But like I said, I went with the IMDb definition of horror movie.
So what's number 4? So Allison will look at the damn screen.
Number 4 is Scream.
I love these movies so much.
What's your favorite scary movies, Kidney?
I think these are phenomenal. I don't care how many they make because I've never been disappointed by one.
So I watched like the first 2 or 3, and after that, I tapped out because of the same reasoning. I'm not into the sequels. And very few sequels are as good as the original anyway. But, now you talk about a horror movie. What about that tree going right through someone's face? That's some shit, Terry.
That's right.
That's more scary than a fucking man-eating shark? Come on.
Well, and Jaws' mama came back in the second one or whatever it was.
Just stop. Let's just stop.
And then got sucked into a tornado.
Okay, so next. All right, so I love these movies. Andrew thinks no.
No, the first couple were fine, but I think they're on Scream. I think they're on Scream 31 or something at this point.
I think they're on 10 too.
Does not shock me.
Their last one was in New York City. I really liked it.
Now that is scary. Number 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ooh.
Now this is the one that got me when I was a kid because I was pretty young when these were coming out.
So they'd play the commercial, for Freddy, and like I thought he was the scariest of all of them over Jason and Michael Myers. I thought Freddy was the scariest of the big 3, as I'll call them, because I imagine we're getting Halloween and Friday the 13th.
Singing and stuff, and that really
Freddy's
hit home.
Coming for you. Are you kidding me? I'm afraid to sing it. Like that's how much I don't like.
He's gonna show up.
Go knock on your bathroom mirror 3 times and say "Candyman, scaredy cat." Come on, let's go.
Nope.
I ain't scared of shit. Bring it.
But yeah, this to me when I was a kid, this was the scary one to me for sure. And my brother was watching all these, and I was just kind of there. And my mom would tell me not to watch it, and I would sneak in there and watch it, and I'd have nightmares,
I told you, dumbass.
Yeah, exactly.
Mama don't cuss though. But she said, "I told you."
If she did, then you knew
that you really messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Number 2, Halloween.
I think you had the spelling wrong on the last one. Just FYI. I just noticed that.
Nightmater.
Nightmater.
Typo. And none of us caught it because I'm staring at the syringes on his finger.
As you flipped, I'm like, I think that's it.
I'm sorry, I had to go back and look. Nightmater. That is hilarious.
All right, so what was 2 again?
That's like the Cars version.
I know. Okay, Halloween. All right.
Whew.
So I will fully admit I've only seen one of these, and it was Halloween H2O, and it was because Josh Hartnett was in it. So Full disclosure.
Well, I mean, it's
but this
it's
one's got a
scary.
story, right?
I mean, this one, like I said, I was a kid when these were coming out. This one didn't hit me as hard as a Nightmare on Elm Street
See,
did.
to me, this one was more believable. Like, so I was more scared of this than Freddy because I'm like,
Yeah,
but this is, you know,
Yeah, and this got Jamie Lee Curtis her big start.
hell
So,
yeah.
but they ran this thing forever. And then when, like, I read
Still
up,
running it.
I did a little research to keep my shit straight because I don't do the horror movies. So they did several movies pretty close proximity, and then they went a long time without making another Halloween movie. And they did the same thing with Friday the 13th. But yeah, the whole story of Michael Myers and she's the sister and whatever. I'm like,
Don't give it
okay,
away.
yeah, yeah, 50
well, I
years
mean,
later, don't give it away.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
it might be Toxic Avenger, but whatever.
it
I think
better be Sharknado on number 1. That's all I'm saying. Where's Sharknado, Terry? Show me Sharknado. Let's go.
I think it was number 28.
This is Voorhees.
Number 1, Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So obviously the mama starts killing people, right?
And it did shift.
Yeah.
It did shift late in the voting. I give those kind of
Did it?
details. It was Halloween, Friday the 13th, and toward the end, it kind of shifted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't care about any of them. So I mean, like, I'm not invested. Like when you put Silence of the Lambs on the list, I knew what I was going with is number 1. That was number 1 with a bullet. Like it's not even close.
What I love is when the scantily clad girl that's at the lake goes to run,
let's go. Yeah,
and
come on,
she's
Derek.
well, I could have just left it there, but she just starts sprinting away, and she's looking behind her and breathing heavy and running, and they're just walking after her.
Yeah.
Just
Always.
walking, and she's got to be a long way away, and she falls, and somehow this person that's barely walking and she's sprinting catches up with her like that.
The other one that really gets me is when and there were several we missed, like Wrong Turn, and I mean, all those, but the bad guy's in the house, so we run up the stairs instead of out the fucking door. They pointed that out in Scream.
Yes.
Which was perfect, but it's true. Like everybody's always, let's run and hide. How about you go out the door
leave.
and leave, leave. I don't get it, but whatever. But we know because it was Halloween time, and it would be fun because I know nothing about these, and I'll just make fun of them for being silly ideas.
I may go back and watch these now, so I'm excited.
Let me run them down. Let's see if I didn't misspell it on this one. Number 10, It. Number 9, The Exorcist. Number 8, The Silence of the Lambs. Number 7, Saw. Number 6, Child's Play. Number 5, Jaws. Number 4, Scream. Number 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 2, Halloween. And number 1, Friday the 13th.
A very good list, I would say.
Mhm.
Even though I haven't seen 10% of the movies based on the sheer number that they have. But that is what it is. So Terry, the RAM Network is where we partner with our friends over at Filter Free Popcast. We also partner with Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave and of course the lovely Amy. They're off this week, Amy and Dave. Dave is at the Texas State Fair and doing Big Brother things, and he's on vacation. So there will be no Talking Wrestling this week. But fun stuff coming from the Filter Free guys. Apparently it's October 1989. George Strait wins a Country Music Award. That's what I got given. Okay, guys, what award did he actually win? It says wins a Country Music Award. This is George Strait. Some people think is as good as Garth Brooks, which is a lie. But there are those people out there that are wrong.
CMA Entertainer of the Year.
Dallas trades Herschel Walker, 1989. This is Jimmy Johnson's first year in Dallas or second.
This
One or
Herschel Walker for half the Vikings.
half the Vikings. Look Who's Talking premieres with the Talking Babies, voiced over by Bruce Willis and Roseanne Barr. Well, no, only Bruce Willis in this one. Deep Cut is General Colin Powell becomes not only the first or the youngest, but the first African American Joint Chiefs of Staff for the George Bush Senior administration. It would be Generations. The Golden Era is going to debut. That would be with Tim, Dave, and TJ talking about the Hogan era, 1984, January 23rd, one of the most important days in professional wrestling. Ballers, they're telling you who to bet for, and apparently they did really well this weekend. I don't know. I went 6-4 on my picks thanks to the SEC. More on that in 5 minutes. And for $5 a month, it pays for the StreamYard guys. Join us, have some fun. That's what we have on the Ram Network.
Thanks, Andrew. Good show, good list. Even though, none of us claim to be horror movie buffs.
Not at all.
Showing you some. I was a big fan of Creep Show, but it was a little different. Creep Show was more Stephen King wrote some short stories and made them into like they had a 5-story kind of collection or whatever. But that was really good stuff.
I don't think there's quite enough, but Stephen King, one of my favorite authors, Pet Sematary was on this list. Pet Sematary 2, Apt
Misery.
Pupil, Misery, The Stand, talking about the devil coming to Earth, nuclear war, all of that sort. And it's a 2,000-page book that I could not put down. The Stand was a fantastic.
Agreed.
Salem's Lot, Needful Things. I mean, just so many. We could do a Stephen King list, probably.
Could. Oh man,
Probably.
we totally could.
And we could do, and the flip side of that, we need to think about comedy movies where people have like Adam Sandler, or I don't know if there's enough Chris Farley, unfortunately, but
he's got some cameos, but I don't know that you'd get above 10 or 15. Because obviously there's the big three.
Or we could do Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live cast, yeah. All
right.
So
but
more
thank
ideas.
You everybody for voting. If you got ideas, bring them. If you've got Halloween related ideas, bring them, because it wouldn't be too bad to just go through October doing this.
Yeah.
Favorite candies for Halloween.
Trick or treating candies.
Yeah. Trick or treating candy. Let's specify.
Favorite treats for trick or treating. I like that. Let's go with that.
How do we feel about caramel corn?
Off an apple. My mother used to give out pencils, and I would pretend like I didn't live there.
Toothbrushes and toothpaste.
So bad. Anyway, I'm out for this segment. This is Terry's time. Thank you all for joining us, voting all the polls. We try to put it on social. Fuck Facebook, even though we're broadcasting there. Y'all know my deal. Terry.
Thank you, everybody, for voting. If you're going to stay around for the football show, give us 3 to 5 minutes or so. We'll try to keep it pretty tight there, and we'll be back. But as always, thank you, Allison Faye. Thank you, Andrew. It's been fun. As always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time. Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10. I'm here with Andrew as always. Thanks for coming, Andrew. And we are about to talk about a wild week 7 in college football.
Did you just say thanks for coming?
Oh, yeah, whatever.
It's our show because I don't do that gimmick where I say it's your show. This is our show. And yeah, wild. What the hell is going on in the SEC, Terry? That's what I
60
want to
minutes is
know.
not enough, apparently.
Twice. And that's what he said. So you're welcome. We hadn't done one of them all night. But yeah, SEC, buddy. The Southeastern Conference is proving that, we joke about, does anyone want to win the Big 12? Does anybody want to win the ACC? I don't know if anyone other than Texas wants to win the SEC.
Well, and I said coming into this that it's been Alabama and Georgia at the top and then a big collection of teams. Alabama and Georgia may have slipped into that big collection of teams, and Texas may be just sitting on top.
We're going to find out in Austin this weekend just how good both those teams are.
We are.
And
is Kirby going to shove anybody this weekend?
Oh my God. Mississippi State put 31 on them too. That is not good.
And we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah.
And he shoves quarterback. Apparently he was going after the defensive coordinator, his, not theirs. And Kirby will get fired up now. He gets real animated, but
the funny thing is I saw that described as inadvertently shoves the opposing quarterback, and I'm like, inadvertent? Really?
Oh yeah, there was nothing.
Word we're going with.
There was nothing inadvertent about it if you watched it on video. I'm like, because here's the thing, and I we're always pretty honest with our audience, which we appreciate everybody for joining us. Well, I didn't watch this game. I ducked in a couple times, but I didn't watch it. You know why? It's Mississippi State playing Georgia. There were so many other games that had my attention. This was not one of them. No disrespect.
And we'll get to all the SEC games and the overtimes and everything, but I got to ask you something. So we had a Big 12 show, and we picked who was going to win the Big 12. And if you look at the standings right now, I swear they just turned it upside down.
Yeah, so I picked Utah. Great defense. Veteran quarterback. Veteran quarterback who now has a lower leg injury and could be back for his 8th year. I will not be picking Utah next year. Oklahoma State, been in the conference.
Yeah.
Most tenured coach in the conference. Because Gundy been there longer than Dan Whittingham's been at Utah.
Right.
And you would think, okay, these got all of a sudden Iowa State's number 9 in the AP poll, undefeated. And we talked about them being a middle of the road team, Terry. We didn't give them any type of shot.
And then Kansas, they were ranked in the top 25 in the preseason, and they've just fallen apart.
Oh, derailed. And K-State's looking good. Obviously we've got that for the Colorado game, but
we're looking possibly Iowa State, K-State. Yeah.
Yeah. Old Big 10 or Big 12, Big 8 rivalry. So, the Big 12 is wide open. The SEC, not so much. The ACC, not so much. And God knows what's happening, in the Big 10, because we had some topsy-turvy business there too this weekend. So
let's get into it then. That's a good segue for this one. Ohio State went to Eugene and walked away with a 1-point loss. And there was a spit in the face that happened out there.
Threw him out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oregon player got thrown out for spitting in the face, and Dan Lanning went for touchdowns instead of field goals. And I said, oh God, here we go again. Just like Washington last year. Ohio State, I still believe, was the better team.
Yeah.
They did not play like it. And I know Oregon
that's got to be considered.
That's got to be considered. But you look at the coaching staff between Day and Kelly versus, no offense. I just lost his name. Oregon's head coach. I just lost his name. Dan Lanning. You look at Dan Lanning, and it's just mismatch, you would think. But when you look at your time of possession is off there, Terry.
Is
You
it?
got 42:08 for Oregon and 33:04 for Ohio State.
I'm gonna screw something up. I type in a lot of things here.
It's okay.
Did
But
they not go into 5 overtimes?
yeah, no. Ohio State's management, though, of the game at the end of the game, Oregon got the stops when they needed to. Gabriel played when he needed to. They played a clean game. 3 penalties, 20 yards, no turnovers. That's huge. But what against that highly touted defense of Ohio State, Terry? Look at third down, 12 for 18.
Oh yeah, big time.
18. And I think that you meant 23:04 for Ohio State because Oregon controlled this football game on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up
I
real
would say
quick.
we can look it up real quick, but
Yeah, I got you. But I mean, this is I think game of the year so far easily. Number 2 against number 3 in the same conference.
and maybe the first of 3 potentially that you're going to see because if both teams make the playoffs and the Big 10 championship game, you could theoretically see this game 3 total times this season, Terry. And
Yeah, Oregon had it 26 minutes, so I was way off on that. I must have held that off from a different game or something.
Oregon only had the ball 26 minutes.
Yeah, 33. So 33:04 is right, and it was.
Then it
Rest of
must have been an imbalance in the halves because
Yeah.
26:56 because I'm gonna tell you this, they Oregon came out and they had that ball for 7 minutes or so and they only got a field goal out of it. You can't do that against Ohio State. But anyway,
But
clean
then, like
game.
Bryant says here about the end of the game, there's a lot of talk about the 12 men on the field penalty.
Yeah, I was getting there. But yeah.
Okay. Well, go ahead, sir.
No, you're fine. What's the play? What's the call on the
So
12?
people think that he did it on purpose
Yep.
and to run some clock, and then Ohio State ran out of time. And
So
Howard,
the other thing that got scrutinized before that, and Bryant and I were texting, I thought Ohio State, the way they were driving on that last down, was that they were just going to score and they were going to win the football game. They get called for offensive pass interference, big time block by the either the tight end or the wide receiver. Ball is not in the air. So you know me arguing with Ohio State fans, because it's productive. It's about like talking politics when you're talking college football on the Twitters. I went ahead and shared the rule with a friend of mine. The rule only applies after the ball is thrown. Offensive pass interference occurs when the offensive player makes contact with the defender beyond the neutral zone during the pass. There was no pass, but he was beyond the neutral zone. Here's the other thing. Pass interference can also be called on offenses if the receiver engages in a similar action to prevent the defender from making a play on the ball. It is pass interference by either team when the act by a player more than 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage significantly hinders the eligible player's ability to make a play. Textbook pass interference because he knocked down the defender of Oregon. If he had bumped him, Terry, and had been bump and run, they don't call pass interference on that.
right.
I think offensive pass interference is kind of stupid unless it's really a big time grab or shove or whatever, because Nebraska would be 6-0 if it weren't for an offensive pass interference call in the Illinois game. Pick play. Completely dodged the guy. Called it offensive pass interference. So, that definitely does not help when you're 3rd and 25 all of a sudden against Oregon's defense. And then piss poor management by Ohio State at the end of the game. Will Howard's got to throw the ball away. He's got to give him a second on the clock. You can't be sliding and trying to make a play downtown. So anyway,
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I guess obviously he was a good quarterback last year and transferred in. There were a lot of questions about whether he can handle being at that level, and I don't know. This is the biggest game he's played so far, and there looked like there were some mistakes.
Big game of the year, but again, you look at this. Oregon's defense bent, but they didn't necessarily break.
Right.
They left points on the board because they could have kicked 2 field goals, and this game isn't as close as it turned out. You could have been 38-31, not 32-31. And you look at that defense of Ohio State, got pressed, got pushed, got tested. Oregon ran the ball, and by being able to run the ball some, they open up the entire playbook for Gabriel, who is a very good quarterback, very seasoned quarterback, and does not wilt under the pressure. So yeah, great football game, best game of the year, because this one all game. I thought Ohio State at halftime was going to make some adjustments, and we're going to do what I predicted last week. They're going to blow the doors off of Oregon, because Ohio State is that football team. We saw them do it against Iowa. They go in 7-0. They end up winning 35-7, and they slam the door shut on Iowa. But make no mistake about it, Oregon is not Iowa. This is a team that can score. Very young coach. He's my age, 38, 39, motivated, knows they were 2 games away, 2 plays away from national championship football last year. So Dan Lanning knows he made mistakes last year, Terry, but he still made the same call going for a field goal this year or this past week,
That's
or
right.
touchdown. So I
You
don't
can
think
say he didn't learn his lesson, but he ended up winning this football game. So,
and you're not going to get him to change. He believed in
right.
him. So,
Well, that's the thing. I think he's an offensive-minded guy. He's going to show his offense that he believes in them a lot more before he's going to show his defense that he believes in them. So he's going to show.
which is hilarious because he was the former defensive coordinator on the national championship team for Georgia.
But he's really calling it toward the offense.
Well, it's aggressive, like you said.
Yeah.
There's those that school of thought where we go for everything on 4th down. We do onside kicks. We
Right.
don't. And by the way, that Oregon onside kick on Ohio State was a thing of beauty when he drilled that ball as hard as he could, square into the chest of the Ohio State, and the kicker recovered the ball. He had no idea that ball was coming, Terry. That was fantastic. Great play. Great play. But anyway.
All right, let's get my bad math out of the way and go to the next game. And I'm going to be checking this the whole time for every game. We got Penn State at USC. This is one of the overtime games. Penn State escapes with a victory here. And they had to come back to do it.
Penn State turned the ball over 3 times, or this game isn't close. It's just not. SC found a little offense. They found some defense, obviously. Drew Aller turned the ball over for Penn State. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been doing that, but he certainly did, and that doesn't work. But SC is not as good a football team as they think they are, and they're going to continue to run into this problem. Pressure defenses that are going to make you pay. And Penn State was one of the top defenses in the country coming into this game. Surrendered some points, surrendered some yards. Kind of a gimmick play that put them in the tie, but James Franklin gets it done at SC. I don't know, Terry, if we call this a big game. I mean, I think it's a big game on their schedule, but it's not Michigan. It's not Ohio State. It's not a Big Ten championship.
Well, it's another test of some sorts for Penn State, and that's a big question when you go to rank the teams. Penn State's rolling right now, but there's always those questions about can they beat the big teams. Obviously, like you said, USC is not that team yet, or not that team this year. So they haven't faced those big teams yet, but they had to go into overtime to beat USC. What does that mean when they play Ohio State?
Well, and listen to this, because this is completely flipped, but you can tell they're playing from behind. Penn State threw the ball 31 out of 44 times, attempts, completion, 31 out of 44. Yeah. USC 20 for 34. But Penn State's rushing was only 118, 3.8 yards a carry, where with the benefit of a huge run to score a touchdown, 75 yards, SC went 24 runs, 8 yards a carry, 7.9. So And I love Mike Bober. Franklin will find a way to blow this. Spoken like a true Pitt fan.
Well, yeah, that's
Um,
what we keep saying. Lane
but
Kiffin and
James
Frank.
Franklin.
Yeah,
But yeah, a lot of offense, a lot of mistakes. They got to clean that up. I think Penn State is idle this week, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think
yeah,
so.
it doesn't get easier from here, and they've got a big date with Ohio State in a couple weeks. So, anyway, what other games do we have on the docket?
Well, we're going to head to a bunch of SEC games, and we're going to go ahead and start with Texas and Oklahoma, the first matchup for them in the SEC, and it wasn't close. Texas, right from the start, second quarter, 3 touchdowns, and it was over.
It looked like it was going to be a good game,
Yeah,
and then all hell broke loose.
right.
They got the strip sack, and here they come. And Sarkeesian's defense bowed up, played really really sound football defensively, nice physicality, controlling the line of scrimmage, doing those things you want to see, particularly when you have the number one ranking in the country. But let's face it, OU could be 0-6, and this game should still mean something to them.
Yeah, definitely.
34-3. This is the second time in 3 years they have taken a seriously lopsided ass whooping at the hands of Texas and Steve Sarkisian. So Sark knows what he's got to do. Up next is Texas and Georgia. So in Austin, won't be the 50-50 split, but I mean, you look at the game, they're pretty clean, good on third down,
Yep.
One turnover, 5 penalties. I mean,
Yeah, Texas took a week
five
off.
penalties in a game like this. That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and Texas took a week off. Watched some of the SEC implode a little bit. Came back and put a whooping on their biggest rival. I mean, they're sitting there right at the top, and the others are trying to figure out what they are.
Yeah, and let's be honest about it. There's no reason to lie about it or anything. Texas is probably the number one team in the country,
Yeah,
all around offense, defense, special teams. Oh, and
depth.
by the way, they have 2 quarterbacks that could start anywhere in the country, and that is a luxury when you have, Arch Manning sitting behind Quinn Ewers. And Quinn Ewers, remember, coming off of injury, and this is his performance, 34-3. With an interception. I mean, it was a
Right.
bad throw. So,
But like you
really,
said, you got another point before I move
I
on
was
to the
going to
next.
say, really disappointing for the rivalry that the game was this
Right.
lopsided. But
Well, and
otherwise,
that's what you said. It should have been, no matter what the records were, it should have been a closer game, which kind of brings up the next game because this was not supposed to be this close of a game.
mm-mm.
Tennessee beats Florida 23-17 in OT.
Yeah, very disappointing. Sloppy with the football again. And I get that it's a rivalry game and it's they play this in Jacksonville, don't they? So it's a quote neutral site, but it's not
Do
really
they
a
play
neutral
this
site.
one?
Is this one in Jacksonville?
I
Or
think
do I
that
have that wrong?
Florida and Georgia play in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay. So this was at the Rocky Top then.
Yeah.
So that makes it even worse. That makes this even worse, Terry. But anyway, Tennessee has gotten exposed a couple weeks in a row because Arkansas, where'd their defense come from? And now all of a sudden, Florida, who we have said over and over again, myself especially, that Billy Napier is not going to have a job there next year, that the Florida schedule is brutal. And by the way, they lost their quarterback, college-ending career injury, torn ACL. Merrick, M-E-R-C-K, lost the rest of the season. His career is over in college, torn ACL in this game. But as good of a coach as Heifel is, they have got to get this close because you got Alabama coming to Tennessee this week, and this isn't going to do it.
Right. And Tennessee fans are saying a lot about Alabama faltering, but, this is not looking like they're going to steamroll anybody.
No. And as we've said, you like to say, I'll quote you, they're now playing teams with a pulse.
Yeah.
This isn't the first 3 or 4 teams where you were putting up these gaudy numbers on just rolling Eastern Tennessee or Middle Tennessee or whatever it was.
Right.
These are real football teams now.
Yes.
So anyway, Sorry about that. The ESPN app went off for some reason.
I've
Anyway,
had that a few
who
times too.
who's up next, Terry?
We got Ole Miss at LSU, and it was another
Right.
overtime game, 29-26. LSU wins this one, and we're back to the idea that can Lane Kiffin win the big game?
Can I just
Doesn't
say
look
out
like
loud in a clear voice, I hate Brian Kelly. But Lane got outsmarted and outcoached again
Yeah,
in overtime. Much better football team, but look at that stat line. 2 turnovers, 12 penalties,
110 yards.
110 yards. And when you are, whatever you think of LSU, when you're playing in Death Valley, you're playing in Baton Rouge, you're playing under the lights, you talk about an environment. That is an advantage that LSU had. I don't particularly think LSU is nearly as good a football team as the AP and the coaches poll put them. I don't think they're a top 10 football team.
I don't think they have the defense to be, but they had enough defense and enough offense to play with Ole Miss. It kind of matched up well for them, I think.
Yeah, and I had said Lane Kiffin was going to win 12 games this year because I was expecting him to have a loss to Alabama and then to be able to win a game in the playoff.
Yeah.
And even win the SEC championship. We're making our bold Desmond Howard predictions, all of which are wrong, just like Desmond. So good for us. But I mean, literally, it is the NCAA is completely upside down this year, which is fantastic. But for me, I'm not a believer in Brian Kelly, and LSU doesn't have a great defense. And they're
I
going
saw
to
today where the LSU defensive coordinator is the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. For whatever reason.
Because they need somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move along. I mean, I think we said what there is to say about this. I mean, Ole Miss, can they win the big one? I don't know. I think LSU's gonna, they already got the loss to start the season off. They're gonna face somebody else who's gonna put them in the ground pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We got Mississippi State at Georgia in a game that should not have been anywhere close to this. Georgia escapes with a 10-point win, 41-31. 31 points given up to Mississippi State.
306 passing yards.
Goodness.
I mean, your D-backs, what do they do? Take the day off? And what about your offense? 609 yards, and you only got 41 points out of that? Those are some big numbers. That's all I'm saying. You got some huge, huge numbers, but you only got 41 points. I really, really, really think that Georgia is a very physical, good football team. I think the matchup in Austin is going to be fantastic. This game a lot closer than it deserved to be, Terry. And what we talked about at the Open, the biggest story coming out of this game was Kirby Smart putting his hands on the Mississippi State quarterback, pushing him out of the way, going after the D coordinator, who he was clearly frustrated. And this makes a lot more sense. You give up 300 yards of passing to Kirby Smart defense, gave up to 300 yards of passing. That's insanity. Right.
A lot of this was situational because none of these numbers really jump out at you. They didn't have 4 turnovers. They had 2 interceptions, but they got an interception back. So they didn't lose that by a great deal. Not a ton of penalties here. Third down wasn't that bad, 5 for 11. So
time of possession, over half the game.
Missed opportunities. I think they outplayed Mississippi State a lot more than a 10-point win, but they're lucky to get the 10-point win.
Well, and we talked about it last week, and I meant it. Close. In today's football, you have to close, and they didn't close.
Well, speaking of that, we got another similar game here. South Carolina at Alabama, and Alabama, speaking of lucky to walk away with a win, 2-point win, 27-25. People are getting a little frustrated in Tuscaloosa.
Well, you hear it more than I do, but I mean, obviously, I've got the Alabama diehards I follow and that sort of stuff. Alabama went up 14-0, and I thought, oh God, here they go. They got it, straightened out, figured out, whatever. Safety, field goal, touchdown is how that sequence ended for South Carolina in the second quarter. And all of a sudden, South Carolina had all the momentum. and Alabama had to storm back in the fourth quarter, as you see. 313 yards of offense for Alabama
Yeah,
with
that's
Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams and all the rest of those players there.
right.
Penalties are okay, I guess, but 2 turnovers, that don't get it done. And we had talked about last week that we thought Alabama was just going to roll because, they're mad, they lost, whatever, to Vandy. But we also talked about how Carolina had a couple good edge rushers that you better respect and pay attention to, and that obviously affected this game. I just don't think that this Alabama is a championship Alabama football team that we've seen in the past. And you, me, and everybody else is going to have to get used to one thing, and that is Nick Saban is no longer the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Right.
And it is a football team that does not look anything like the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you followed pro football at all, like our buddy Anthony Pyrus, love Anthony, listens to us regularly, we thank him for that. He's a Patriots fan. And for so long, Belichick was the face of the New England Patriots. He's not there anymore, and the team is just, they're not winning anymore in New England. So those big time holes and adjustments, these huge coaches, it's going to take something, Terry. It's going to take something. But I think there's the personality difference is so staggering that people don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with it.
That includes the players. I think, and somebody was speaking to this, and I'd give them credit if I remember who it was, but you got a head coach that is very different than the head coach you had that was so successful. And you got players that have been playing for the other guy, and there might be an adjustment period to play for this guy with a different philosophy. I mean, that might be part of it. They've got to learn how to play for a different head coach.
Well, and I've got people that could speak to this, but it was a couple of coaches. But Tom Osborne, Nebraska, all the winning, all that, never raised his voice, never shouted, never was a screamer, didn't holler, all those sort of. A lot of times he just crossed his arms like this, chomping his big red bubble gum, just whatever, calling the plays because he was the offensive coordinator too. We had the Callahan years, which were what they were. And then you got Bo Pelini. You talk about diametrically opposed. Right. Bo Pelini, who was a defensive coach on Nick Saban's LSU staff.
Right.
And Les Miles' LSU staff. And then Tom Osborne, the statesman. The never cuss, never swear, never get upset. I mean, he did, but, he's poker face all the time. Night and day. Mm-hmm. And fans didn't know what to do with it when Pelini would get right in a referee's face, not quite grabbing them by the shirt, but in their face, screaming and hollering. There was a Texas A&M game they lost 9-6. Pelini had two or three penalties against him, one sideline and 2 personals, and they tossed his ass out of the game. So, but he cost the team. You cost the team 15 yards at a time when you do that. I don't know. And I'd have to look, and because I'm not going to sit here and say it never happened. In 25 years as a head coach, I don't think a penalty was ever called on Tom Osborne. Ever. And that just says something, But it's a different mentality. Like DeBoer is so much. I don't want to say like he's laid back, almost as insulting.
Well, he wore a T-shirt on the sideline, and people went mad over that.
Yeah, well, the whole deal, you know the deal with the sidelines for college and pro, don't you? They used to wear suits and ties and all that stuff.
And I guess the guy for the Jaguars did it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Can't remember his name, but I think that was the last guy that I remember doing that.
But Belichick, because they wanted him to wear their gear. Belichick, that's why he did the cutoff sleeves. It was a protest to not being able to wear a tie like the heroes, like a Parcells or whoever. So anyway, this here, Alabama's got some things to do because whether you accept the coaching or not, this is not the national championship contending Alabama Crimson Tide right now.
Right.
Not with a loss to Vandy, and your bounce back is not a rebound. This was not a rebound game. So, and now you're headed to the Rocky Top.
Did you say Vandy?
Fucking
Vandy got
Vandy.
another got another win. Vandy got another win against Kentucky at Kentucky, 20-13. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. They lost to freaking Georgia State, but now
Yes,
they're looking pretty
I
impressive.
saw something where it said they're 2 or 3 plays away from 6-0. Vandy. I
Yeah,
can't take Vandy. I told our friend Amy, light your candles, because obviously the teller of lies is at work here, because Vandy is 4-2 with the victory over Alabama, and a victory now over Kentucky. Possession, look at that. Third down, they won the turnover battle. 12 and 105 penalties right there, Terry. At home. At home.
goodness.
And both were very well balanced. But yeah, Vandy just taking advantage. And look, let's face it, how many plays get called back? I didn't watch this game, but how many get called back but touchdowns by penalty? How many mistakes were made that put them out of field goal range as an example? There's a lot of things that could have happened to Kentucky that we didn't, see. But
So what you see here is they didn't even get 300 total yards. I mean, they're not going out and dominating against the defense, but they are very good on third down. They've consistently been good on third down, and that just keeps the drive alive, and it runs the clock, and you can win football games, especially with a quarterback like they have that can move around as much as he can. That's scary.
Well, last week we talked about this, and you talked about it, and I agree with you, because the third down of this is part of the equation. They doubled up Alabama time of possession last week,
Right.
and you wonder why they beat them. They had 40 minutes. They had the ball, and Alabama didn't hold the ball for 20 minutes last week. You wonder why they beat them. If you are Jalen Monroe sitting there on the sideline with your helmet in your hands, you ain't doing nothing if Vanderbilt just continues to convert third down. And like you say, Terry, they don't necessarily even have to score.
Right.
They just don't. They don't have to score as long as they're possessing. That's better defense than what they can offer.
And just think about that defense. You get them to third down, they convert again. You get them to third down, they convert again. You get them to third down, they convert again. That might influence the defense to make a mistake because they want to make something happen, and then you torch them for a touchdown.
Yep.
Let's move out of the SEC, and we are going to go to Pittsburgh. We got Cal at Pitt. Very good game. Cal is that team that's been a tough game for everybody. But Pitt stays alive.
Can't close. Cal can't close, and they should have, because let's face it, Bober and I talked about this already a little bit. He said this was an ugly win. Sometimes your wins are ugly. And I mean, that we're learning that this season, that winning is what matters. Again, the whole Nebraska thing. Well, Nebraska only beat Rutgers 14-7. It was kind of ugly. But they won, and their defense played lights out, which is why James Williams needs a black shirt. But here, Pittsburgh, 6-0. Talk about possession, Terry. Almost double, 17 minutes. 17 minutes on the nose, different. You don't win football games like that most of the time, but you certainly don't win football games if you're going to commit 110 yards of penalties either on Cal's part. And they forced 2 interceptions. And we've talked about this. Cal has a very good pass defense. So good for Pittsburgh being able to get a lead, hold on to the lead. But look what California did to them in the second half. Blanked them. And Pittsburgh, I didn't even watch this game. I saw some plays, of course, the Sports Center. Pittsburgh's obviously the better football team. They didn't necessarily play like it Saturday. Not with all those mistakes they made. 1 for 12 on third down. You don't win a lot of football games doing that, Terry. 1 for 12
not at all.
On third down. I mean, all these things we're talking about today. Possession, turnovers, penalties, and third down. It's what matters. So Eli did not play well in the second half. Well, no shit, Bober. 1 for 12 on third down. My God, sir. I might retract your invitation to join us next week or whenever
But
you're
they're
available.
still alive. They're still undefeated and moving
6-0
forward.
in the ACC. He thinks we're being disrespectful to him. We're not, but they're not Clemson. No offense, buddy.
They are the only ACC game we picked this week, or that we're showing this week.
Correct. We do enjoy it though. But yeah, Cal Ballhawk and Terry. We talked about that in the preview last week. I thought Pitt would be good enough to win the football game. I was right, thank God. My pick'ems are getting destroyed. We'll get there in a minute. But they have forced turnovers, interceptions in every single one of their games.
Big time, yeah.
So Cal, they just can't win. That's the thing. They just can't win the football game. But anyway, Cal missed a go-ahead field goal. Well, there you go. Can't win the football game. You got to close. Who's next, Terry?
This was a late one. Kansas State at Colorado, and Colorado had this toward the end of the game, and Kansas State wins it right at the end. Negative 29 rushing yards for Colorado because they just aired out.
They don't have an offensive line either. They don't have a line that's going to establish the line of scrimmage. Obviously, you say, well, Andrew, the guy threw for 388 yards. Yeah, if Shedeur Sanders had any better of an offensive line, they'd be destroying people the way he throws the ball. Also, lost Travis Hunter and 3 other receivers in this game to injury and lost the game and had to roar back. You can see, Terry, they were, 24-7? And they came almost all the way back.
Right.
Lost on possession, lost the rushing game.
And that's after losing some big names at receiver. Yep. So they can do it, but you're right. I think that offensive line is their biggest thing because Shedeur Sanders is good. You know, obviously they talk a lot in Colorado, but he's very good. Travis Hunter's very good. But it is like a video game offense. You drop back, you scramble around, and you throw it.
Yep.
And that's what Colorado does.
Yep. And the thing is, like, I made this comparison before, and Deion, of course, went to Florida State, not Miami. But Miami in the 1980s that won 4 national titles. Well, I guess 91 too. So that span of time where they won the 4 national titles in the decade. They talk teetotal shit. But the thing was, they could back it up. Colorado is not delivering on what they're saying, they're promising, they're doing whatever. And it just makes them the laughing stock of college football. I don't think, there's 6 games, I think, left for Colorado. I don't think you see Deion after this season at Colorado. Because Hunter, Shiloh, and Shedeur will be gone. And he was very critical of Shiloh. But if you watch the way Shiloh Sanders played defense this past week, coming back from that broken arm against Nebraska, he played gun shy. He played scared to take a hit. Well, you know what you can't do when you're a defensive back in football? Be scared to take a hit. Yeah, right. And most of the time, the guys that want to deliver the hits play the safety position. Yeah. Those are those guys. And Shiloh looked like trash this weekend. So that game I did watch, despite how late it was, because it was on after the Oregon and
right. Yeah, and I did Ohio State I was in the hotel. I watched there was like 3 games going on before this one that were fantastic, multiple overtime games. I was watching those, then I left it on for this. Why don't we get to the top 10 list for this week? Thanks for everybody for voting. The week 7 top 10. Let's go ahead and get it started. Number 10, LSU. So they started out the season with a loss to USC, and they've won since then. Big win against Ole Miss, and they travel to Arkansas this week, which is not going to be easy.
Yeah, I'll reserve my comments. I was about to say the same thing. There have been very good LSU teams that have stubbed their toe play in Arkansas. For whatever reason, this used to be the game, out of the old, was it Southwest Conference, I believe it was, Terry? This used to be the game that finished the season. Thanksgiving game,
right.
Arkansas, LSU. They've rearranged the schedule, whatever. It's fine. But yeah, I would be very careful if I was LSU with this football game. And not only are you playing Arkansas this week, you got A&M next week.
Well, look at the rest of the schedule. A&M, Alabama, at Florida, which Florida is not as bad as we thought they were going to be.
And neither is Vandy. We can't laugh about Vanderbilt anymore
and
either.
Vandy, and then you end the season with Oklahoma. Even though they just got whipped by Texas, Oklahoma's still a good football team. So that's a pretty brutal slate coming up.
Yep, definitely. And certainly, Glaber, let's have a little hustle there. Damn it. And Schmidt, what are you doing? Or Holmes, what are you doing? I don't like Holmes.
For those who are just listening to this show, these random comments are about the Yankees game.
Yankees up 4-1. Top of the 7th because you asked.
Why don't we move along to number 9?
Who's number 9?
That would be Tennessee. After narrowly escaping in overtime to Florida, their gift for that one is Alabama this week.
We talked about how this schedule favored Tennessee, at least optically, looking at it superficially. I don't know. Maybe Tennessee's gotten exposed, Terry. And maybe Saturday you got two offenses that just sling it and wait for their defense to make a play. Who knows? A little disappointing they took overtime to get Florida beat. I understand it's a rivalry. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know that there was a time when it used to be Tennessee or Florida. That was who was winning the SEC title, but that was 25 years ago.
Right.
And I just don't think Tennessee is as good as I thought they were. And that's a little disappointing, considering how good they seemed to be. But
and it's the same thing we were talking about. The first 3 weeks they played UT Chattanooga, NC State, and Kent State. And then they won at Oklahoma.
NC State was actually a football team, but they didn't play like one,
Right. But then they went to Oklahoma, and Tennessee got the 10-point win, and we really thought they were going to start moving along. But I don't know that Oklahoma's quite there this year either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that wasn't really a litmus test. But their schedule is not too terrible, but they do have Alabama and Georgia, and that at Vanderbilt, man, how big would that be if Vandy can just keep going and host Tennessee at the end of the season here? That might be big.
Well, I don't think after the Alabama loss or win, in Vandy's case, that you're going to convince them they can't play with Tennessee.
Right.
They're going to think they can play with anybody because they beat Alabama, who beat Georgia, who was the number 1 team. You can go on and on, Terry. Who came in at number 8? Is it Alabama?
Number 8 is Clemson.
Oh, the Tigers, the other Tigers.
And as we said, they got their big loss against Georgia to start the year, but if they're rolling,
it's been pedal to the metal. It's been pedal to the metal in its conference wins. Look at that. NC State, Stanford, Florida State, Wake Forest. And these aren't wins. These are lopsided beatdowns at this point. So
Virginia's a pretty decent team.
Yeah, they're making sure stylistically, Terry, that they're the best football team in the ACC. No offense, Bober.
So in 3 weeks, they got Louisville.
Yep.
They're at Pittsburgh 11-16. That'll be interesting.
That might be the Bober game if he wants to join us.
That would be good. We'll talk to our people.
Talk to our people, Mike. DM me. You know how to get me.
Number 7. Here's where Alabama is after the narrow win against South Carolina, and the loss at Vanderbilt. Alabama climbs a little bit this week to number 7. I think the overtime for Tennessee convinced some people to put Alabama above because I think Tennessee was above last week.
Well, and despite their falling, Missouri, they ain't got an easy road either. Alabama's got back-to-back weeks, Tennessee, Missouri. But you're at the Rocky Top. This is advantage Tennessee. This might be a year Tennessee could actually win this football game.
Yeah. They go to LSU November 9th. And, we talk about LSU being really suspect on defense, but the way Alabama's been playing, that could be a pretty tight game for them.
Shoot the damn lights out of the scoreboard, as you like to say, Terry.
That's right. And this one won't be on a crane.
Pay your power bill. But yeah, we'll get to the preview because I know we're running a little over. So let's move along to number 6. Who's number
Number
6?
6 is Penn State. This was a
Holy
team that was
shit!
yeah, it was this is a team that like, where do you put them? Do you put them higher? Do you put them lower? I guess people saw the overtime and dropped them down a little bit. But they got a bye week, and then they head to Wisconsin. Then they got a big matchup against Ohio State in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's going to be the big one, the whiteout, I'm sure.
Right.
Unless they do the stupid thing and put it on Fox at 12 o'clock. That'd piss me off. Yeah, the bye week comes at a good time for them because they're starting to get into the meaty part of the schedule here. But it's a very manageable part of the schedule. Even if they lose one game, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland are not going to hang with Penn State. They're just not going to do it.
Right.
And I'll say that as a Big Ten guy. Wisconsin plays a little up. Ohio State, of course, is going to be Ohio State. And Washington, from week to week, it doesn't know that you know what
Yeah.
Washington team you're going to get. So, because they beat Michigan and then got clobbered by Iowa.
Oh, big time. Got 40 to Iowa. We didn't mention that to lead in the show.
We threatened to, but Iowa scored 40, folks. And I don't know when the last time Iowa scored 40 against a conference opponent was, but I'm sure it's been a while. So anyway, yeah, Penn State's higher than this, guys. They are better than Miami, who I know is in front of them, and you all are about to get a tangent. Terry, top 5. Let's roll.
Number 5 is Georgia with a loss to Alabama a few weeks ago. 5-1. They're heading to Texas, so we're really about to find out if they're frauds or not.
Bang, bang. This is going to be a close one. We'll get to it in the preview. But I'm looking for a big-time physical matchup.
All right, let's move on to number 4, Miami. This is where Miami shows up 6-0, but a lucky 6-0.
They should be 4-2.
Yeah. So this is a really suspect undefeated team. I don't think we have any fans that are fans of Miami. I don't know that I've ever met a Miami fan. I mean,
we can keep that streak alive as far as I'm concerned.
They're just kind of there.
You know how I feel about Miami.
Right.
You know, all of a sudden I'm like Dusty Rhodes about Ric Flair back in '83. I ain't got to spend a lot of time talking about Ric Flair. So Miami is not the number 4 team in the country. Georgia is better than them. Penn State is better than them. They have had the benefit of 2 horribly officiated calls at the end by a cockhair to win football games, and it is absolutely absurd. Miami is going to find a team that will beat them, and it may not be till your ACC championship game against Clemson. Sorry, Mike. But
it may be this week, though. I mean, Louisville could show up and do it. I mean, I don't know what to expect from Louisville, but I don't expect Miami to beat about 3 touchdowns or anything.
Inconsistency.
Right.
Terry, let's hit the top 3.
Number 3, Ohio State, after the loss, traded spots with Oregon probably. 1-point loss to the number 3 team, you're number 2. This kind of makes sense. Now they have a bye week. And then they got that big matchup with Nebraska that you said was going to be not close.
No, probably not. 3 touchdowns, I think. But when you ask me what the score's going to be, I'm going to tell you Nebraska by 3.
That's right.
Because I will never change. But no, this game, and I was just thinking, imagine the BCS trying to figure this out right now, Terry. You remember the bowl conference.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
Imagine them trying to figure out after that. I think
we had
banger of a football game Saturday night and having 1 loss Alabama and 1 loss Georgia and undefeated Miami. It would be a nightmare. This is a great team.
Yeah.
All joking aside about my love for Ohio State that is non-existent. They played a good game. They made mistakes they shouldn't have made that are very uncharacteristic for a Ohio State football team. And Oregon beat them. And that's all there is to it.
That's right. I think Oregon started to play better. I mean, they started out a little slow. Um, I don't know what that was. Was that the producer telling us to move along? Is
No,
that what
that was
that was?
my the dogs coming in. So
Okay. Anyway, so why don't we just go to number 2, and that is Oregon after that win against Ohio State, and they had to Purdue. You know, Oregon started out with a 10-point win against Idaho. We said, is Oregon? Oh, yeah. I don't know about that, Brian. I think I'm going to hold off on the computer poll for the moment. Liberty was way too high in it, but you know, Oregon, we weren't sure what we had. They beat Boise State by 3, but I think that Oregon State game, when they played that Oregon State game, they really showed up.
in
They just blew
Corvallis.
them out,
In
and since then
Corvallis.
they've been rolling.
Yeah. And the fact that they beat Oregon State as bad as they did away, huge deal. Um, and they handled Michigan State as well, UCLA. So Purdue, good luck. It's like a 10 o'clock game, I think, Friday night, Terry,
Mm,
or maybe
okay.
9 o'clock game. But Purdue sucks, and will be with the new coach if not this year, next year, and then we're going to see what Oregon can do. But Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington, very favorable schedule to the Ducks. Quack quack.
Let's go ahead and roll it over and show you that number 1 is in fact Texas, and they host Georgia this week after their 6-0 start and completely blowing out Oklahoma. Georgia looks like the real deal. I mean, Texas looks like the real deal here. Like we said, they've got depth and they've got talent, and
And they have yet to be challenged,
yeah.
and that will change in Austin Saturday afternoon or evening.
All right, let me run it down. Number 10, LSU. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 8, Alabama. Number 7, Clemson. Number 6, Penn State. Number 5, Georgia. Number 4, Miami. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 2, Oregon. And still sitting at the top, the Texas Longhorns at number 1.
Yep.
Well, that was week 7. Why don't we move along to week 8 games that we care about? That means that our teams are in there no matter how much they suck. That's what that means. Anyway, let's start it out with Miami at Louisville. We talked about it a minute ago, Saturday at noon. Miami is favored by 4.5. What are you feeling here?
I'm feeling like that Louisville is not nearly as good of a football team as we thought, and
Yeah.
Miami is not nearly as good of a football team as everybody seems to think. They've had to have a little luck, which we know during football you've got to have some luck. This is a way. I'm taking the Canes, and I'm going to take them by a field goal because
Okay.
for whatever reason, Louisville did not close against Notre Dame, and whoever else beat them, I forget now. They didn't close against them either, and there were opportunities for Louisville to win both those football games, and they didn't do it. So I am not picking Louisville. I'm going to go with Miami by a field goal.
Yeah, so to
And
combine with
probably with
that,
the help of a referee. Let me put that out there. I'll go ahead and say that too.
Miami's got a little bit. I'm not saying they're this good, but they play a little bit like those USC teams used to. They would play a road game and get down by 2 touchdowns and storm back. Miami has a little bit of that. That may happen this weekend. I think they win by 10.
Yeah.
All right. Now we go also Saturday at noon. Indiana is favored by 6.5 hosting Nebraska. This was a little higher number than I expected.
It was 3.5. They moved it to 6.5.
Wow.
Indiana, you can thank the Nebraska Cornhuskers for selling out the rest of your stadium. You're welcome. We do travel well. The intention apparently is to wear black. I will tell you this: the coach from James Madison, Kurt Cignetti, I believe it is,
Oh,
Cignetti,
the
however,
Signetti, or yeah, the guy
yeah,
that he said, "Look, Google me, I just win."
we always win. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's going to admire this home run from Giancarlo Stanton. 5-1, go Yankees. But
So wait a minute, hold on. So you're talking about the Nebraska game, and even that gets interrupted by A home run by the Yankees. Wow.
Giancarlo, 5-1. Go Yankees. So 6.5 points. People are in love with the fact that Indiana has scored a lot of points, has not they've got this number 5 offense or defense, whatever, defensive, yada yada. You can see how invested I am in that right now. I
Right.
don't care. You know why? They haven't played an offense as good as Nebraska, and they haven't played a defense anywhere close to Nebraska. Their first 6 games have been of lesser opponents, put it that way, including Northwestern. Nebraska goes to Bloomington to play a 12 o'clock kick. It's on Fox. It'll be a big game, 5-1, 6-0. If Nebraska wins, they're bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. Nebraska's defense is the key to this game. Raiola already had his bad game. Nebraska's going to run the ball some. They're going to throw. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. Indiana's defense is going to get worn out by the experienced offensive line in Nebraska. Run the ball, lean on them fourth quarter. However, if Nebraska's defense can do what they did to Shedeur Sanders, because they have a very good quarterback at Indiana, but they can squeeze the pocket and shut him out, it's going to be ugly. Say you're right, got his black shirt this week, Terry. The punter got his black shirt this week. You know who doesn't have a black shirt yet?
Who's that?
James Williams, the backup edge rusher, who had the highest ranking of anybody on the defensive line the week ago, because they didn't play this past week. 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 2 broken up passes. The boy can ball. He's going to have another good game against Indiana. Nebraska wins this by 10 in Bloomington.
That's a big number there. That flips it over by nearly 17 there. I think Nebraska's going to out physical Indiana, but I think it's going to be a little lower scoring, and I say Nebraska by 2. Now we go Auburn at Missouri. Missouri
Oof.
favored by 6.5. Here's the deal, and I say it every week. Auburn plays with everybody and just finds a way to screw it up. Missouri doesn't seem as good as we thought they were at first. I'm picking my Tigers here by 3.
So it's in Columbia.
Yep. Como.
Missouri has been exposed. Auburn's not nearly good enough yet to beat them, though. I'll take Missouri by the 7 points.
All right.
I think your quarterback play is too suspect.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be run the ball and play defense. It can't be try to light it up. And I think Hugh Freeze wants to light it up, and he's done that. I saw somewhere where Auburn and Vanderbilt are tied for the most different people with receiving touchdowns this year at 10.
Which is impressive, spreading it
It
around.
is impressive, but you got to keep the ball on offense for that to matter. So I think we're going to quit lighting it up so much and run the football, because supposedly we got the best running back in the SEC. We just hadn't used him enough.
And that's where I'm saying I don't trust your offense. And what I mean by that, are you a running team or are you a passing team? Because whenever you guys throw the ball,
passing team.
whenever you throw the ball, you turn the ball over. Auburn does not take care of the ball offensively. Then you're asking your defense to go get it back in a hostile environment where Missouri did not have a bye week, Terry, but they might as well have. They drummed whoever they played like 45 to
At
3.
UMass, is that what that was?
Yeah, it was UMass. That's exactly who it was. Yeah.
At UMass. For some reason, they went to UMass.
Whatever. But, I mean, my point is that it wasn't an off week. Like, Auburn had a legit bye. Missouri had a practice, for the lack of a better way to say it. You know, I just can't trust Auburn's offense. I don't think Hugh's there yet. And, you know, I mean, I appreciate you picking Nebraska. You don't have to do that. But, you know, you can't deny that Auburn is 3-3 and probably one of the, what's that?
2-4.
Excuse me. Auburn is 2-4 and probably the best 2-4 team in the country. Because what kind of compliment is that? You know,
Right.
when Nebraska
We've been
had
that a lot. Yeah.
those 9 games, they lost by a total of 47 points. Nebraska was the best 3-9 team in the country, Terry. What the fuck does that even mean? Like,
Even
you're
though
good.
there's a lot of truth to it, it's like I hate saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
But
good
it's
at
the truth.
you're good at
Because I mean, they've
losing.
played. You're good at losing. I mean, we got a 10-point loss against Georgia. Everything else has been a score.
Yeah. And let's face it, Georgia, regardless of what their inconsistencies have been, it's a good football team.
A lot
A,
more talent. A lot
yeah,
more talent.
a
Yeah.
really good
Sometimes the
football team.
talent gap is what wins the football game.
Yeah.
Well, let's move along to Rocky
Oof.
Top and the Crimson Tide Saturday at 3:30 comes to
Okay, there's a
visit.
decimal there. I thought that said Alabama was favored by 15, not
15.
1.5. I was
No,
like, whoa,
no, 1.5-point favorites, the Crimson Tide. And
you
I
go
don't know. This
first.
is tough. This one's tough here because last week we thought Alabama was going to bounce back after the loss. This is a rivalry game. If they don't show up to this one, it could get ugly. I'm going Tennessee by a touchdown.
Tennessee by a touchdown. It's a rivalry game. I think it'll be punch for punch. I think this one's going to go back and forth, back and forth. I don't think you're going to get either of their defenses to establish any sort of dominance whatsoever. So we can disagree because I don't know that we've disagreed yet, except the Auburn game.
Hmm.
I'm going to go Alabama by a field goal.
Okay.
I'm going to say they steal it from Tennessee. But this one is close. Like this one, honestly, could be as good as the Georgia-Texas game. Really.
If this were Nick Saban, I would say Alabama by 10
Yeah.
to bounce back and do that, especially with Tennessee showing some vulnerability. But I don't know that this Alabama team's able to do that. So that's where I go for that. Good. We need to disagree on stuff.
That's
This
right.
next one, I don't know that we're going to disagree. It's got a little potential because Georgia Tech could show up, but Notre Dame at Georgia Tech, Notre Dame favored by 8.5. We don't talk about Notre Dame much. They're kind of just sitting there.
Notre Dame lost a big-time player. And I forget what it is, but it's for the season, and it's a hip injury. I forget what position he plays. I want to say it's defense. So I'm going
Cornerback
Georgia. I'm
Morrison.
going Georgia Tech on this one.
Oh, wow.
And I will take Georgia Tech by 3.
Okay. I think the spread's about right, even though it's on the road. I just think Notre Dame's a team that we haven't talked about that's pretty good. I think Notre Dame by a touchdown. All right.
All
Now,
right.
defending national, can we still call them defending national champions? I think they've given up on that one already. Michigan at Illinois, Saturday at 3:30. Michigan favored by 3.5 on the road.
They
And I
just called interference on my guys. What the hell? 5-1, no outs, top of the 8th, 2 on, second and third. I don't know what Hill is doing, but they just called interference on the pitcher. And the pitcher, oh, they called interference on. Okay, I see what he did. He pushed him out of the way. Anyway, lame. Okay,
so
back
I'll
to
go
the
first here.
task at hand, Terry. Michigan, Illinois, in Champaign, I believe it is, not
Yeah,
Ann Arbor.
right. And I think Michigan is. This is kind of a tough one. I think the 3.5 probably makes sense, but I don't know. I don't think Michigan is even that good this year. I think they've fallen off that much. I'm going with Illinois by 2.
Damn it, Terry. You stole my thunder again. Illinois by 7. They're going to beat up Michigan. They have better quarterback play. Their defense is fundamentally sound, and they're at home. And they're coached by a guy who's won a lot of football games in the Big Ten, be that at Wisconsin or now Illinois. Plus, they beat Nebraska. So I'm going with Illinois.
All right. We got to quit agreeing on stuff. We may disagree here. Colorado at Arizona, and Colorado is playing at a reasonable time on the West Coast here. Saturday at 4, Arizona at home over Colorado, favored by 3 points. Why don't you take it first here?
So I will not pick Colorado, but Arizona, while we're here, has been very disappointing this year inside the Big
Yeah.
12. They're one of those teams that you talked about. You've been flipped the Big 12 rankings upside down. You know, we thought
Yeah.
they'd be toward the top, not toward the bottom. At Arizona, without Hunter potentially. I mean,
Yeah, I
obviously
don't
we're
know the
early in
status
the
of those
week.
injuries.
We're early
Yeah.
in the week. But I still don't think they've got an offensive line. Oh, good. Cleveland just made this a lot closer. It's now 5-2. What the hell? I'm going Arizona, and give me Arizona by, let's go 6.
I think even with the injuries, I think Colorado, they got what are they, 4-2 now? They played tight with Kansas State, stormed back even after the injuries the other day. I think they've got enough firepower, even being very one-dimensional. I think Colorado wins this by a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
it's genuinely a coin flip. Probably. All right, LSU, Arkansas, in Fayetteville, Pig Suey, all the way, because I am not picking Brian Kelly and LSU. Let's go ahead and get Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino a big-time upset. Give me the Razorbacks by the 3 that LSU is favored.
I had not picked this before right now. Let me think about it here. See, what's really suspect here is that LSU defense and which Arkansas. The question for me is which Arkansas team's going to show up. They've
Correct.
shown up and done well. They've shown up and stunk. I'm going LSU by the 3. Even though I think that their time's coming, I don't think it's at Arkansas. And here's the big one. Georgia at Texas, 7:30 Saturday night. Texas favored by 3.5. I put them as UT here. No matter what the SEC says, I called them UT. 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to say Texas by 10.
Yeah, so this is where we were talking earlier. Texas has not been tested. They will be tested on Saturday night. Georgia is going to be very aggressive defensively. However, Georgia surrendered 300-plus passing yards to Mississippi State. You've got 2 very good quarterbacks with a receiving group, including Bond, who you might remember, Terry, caught the touchdown for the win against Auburn last year in the end zone on 4th and 24 or 34, whatever the hell it
31,
was. 4th and
like
31.
Yeah, I think there's car tags with that on it around here somewhere.
Bond may not play, though. He left the game early. Oh, good. Luke Weaver's in the game. Close this sumbitch down already. Anyway, I'm going Texas. Give me Texas by 13. Because I think they're the most complete team in college football. And I'm hoping Georgia makes it closer than that. But you can't surrender 300 yards to Steve Sarkisian's offense. He's calling the offense with Quinn Ewers and/or Arch Manning as the quarterback. It's not going to work. So, and they've got a real good physical defense with a good line of scrimmage. So, give me Texas by 13.
All right, and our final game, Saturday at 7:30, Kansas State at West Virginia. West Virginia is another inconsistent team. We've seen them show up and play with some good teams. Kansas State, after that game with Colorado that went down to the wire, does this one sneak up on them? I'm going to go ahead and say no.
I don't think so. I'm going to steal your thunder. I am done picking West Virginia until they show me that they can actually consistently play football games. I'll take Kansas State by a touchdown in this one because I respect Morgantown, West Virginia. Otherwise, forget about it. And like you said, K-State coming off a pretty good win against Colorado, but one that they nearly blew. So, but I'm going K-State. I think they're a better football team than West Virginia.
Yeah, I think Kansas State impressed me the other day. Um, I think Colorado is a pretty decent team in the Big 12. Obviously, we don't think they're going to be in the championship game, but Kansas State, I thought, stuck with it and played hard and won that. I just think they're going to outmatch West Virginia. I'm going to take them by 13 on the road.
Big win. You're predicting a big win, Terry.
Big win for Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but let's talk about our picks. Bober overtook me this week. Bryant's still in the lead at 40-27. Thanks for not picking those 3 games that week. Bober at 39-30 in second place now, and I am in third place at 38-31.
I'm in 8th place. I've won 33 I've picked correctly. I'd still do better on this show than I do on the actual pick'ems from ESPN. So, for those Yankee fans out there, it's the bottom of the 8th, 5-2. Weaver just got out of a jam. Runners on the corner. That's why he's the closer. He's no Mariano Rivera, though, Terry, but a good young kid. Hopefully he can be a Yankees closer for a while, which has nothing to do with college football.
I got to see if we're related. I call him up, ask him for some money or something like that.
Yeah, but no, this was fun. Always fun with you, buddy. Look, we went a little bit long, like 7 minutes or something. I don't know, maybe 10, but
maybe 20.
There was no, because we had our break. Don't be adding time to this. But still winning. Who's that? Oh, Bryant.
He is.
Whatever.
He's winning the pick'em thing.
Whatever.
He wants a belt or something.
He's not getting one. He might get to pick the playoffs with us. But yeah, if the SEC keeps disappointing me, I'm gonna keep losing, because that's really where my slide in these pick'ems has been, is the SEC.
The SEC's all over the place except for Texas. It's really exciting though. The SEC's turning into what we expected the Big 12 to be, but the Big 12's kind of doing that too, but they're just upside down.
Yep, and they're all over the place. And then of course, I didn't see who they're playing, but our story we've been watching because of our buddy Dave, Florida State. God help them, because they're 1-5. Hopefully they can win a football game this week. Because it ain't pretty.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty.
Well,
but
thanks everybody for hanging with us a little into overtime.
And entertaining the Yankees talk, because Giancarlo hit a home run. Boom. Talk about it, Terry.
Okay, you can talk about that. I'm gonna wrap it up. But thanks everybody for voting.
Not the Mets. That's
thanks
all I'm
for
saying.
tuning in. But hey, at least the Phillies are going right.
That's true too.
But thanks. It's been fun, everybody. Thanks, Bober. Thanks, Andrew and Allison. Thank you to Bryant and anybody else that has been watching us, anybody that votes. If you've got ideas, let us know. We appreciate it. Obviously not a full-time job, so we can't do everything. And I don't have time to do the computer polls, so that's part of the reason that hasn't been a thing. But we appreciate the interest everybody's shown, and we're going to keep going. We are about halfway through the season, and it's been a good one so far.
This has been, and before you close us down, this has been one of the better football seasons I can remember. Yeah. And part of it is Nebraska's winning some football games. They haven't won in a long time. But
and we got a 12-team playoff coming up.
But the playoffs coming, and the variety of teams actually playing and showing up, the storylines. You would thought Michigan might go down a little bit with Harbaugh not being there, losing a lot of players. Right. But to watch Michigan do what they're doing, and then Oregon do, and Washington, good Lord. I mean, you start naming teams. What about Florida State? Biggest collapse I think I've seen probably in 15 years or more. And I couldn't name the other one off the top of my head if you put a gun to it right now. So a lot of fun, Terry, halfway there, like Bon Jovi sang. But for tonight, we're done. We're there. So take us on home, buddy.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Andrew and Allison, everybody that tuned in, everybody that voted. It's been fun. Be a champ this week in everything that you do. See you next time, everybody.